Good morning, and welcome to Sunday worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jacksonville, where we continue to practice physical distancing and spiritual connection. We are so glad all of you have joined us this morning. I'm Penny Reed, your worship associate for this service, and joining me as the technical administrator today is Christina Ramey, our communications director. Many other church members are contributing significantly to this service as well, both on screen and behind the scenes. Zoom is an old friend by now, so I won't go over instructions about using it. And again, just a reminder that we keep the congregation muted during the service in order to minimize background noise and prevent any disruptions. As you know, UUCJ has canceled all in-person gatherings until further notice, but there is still so much we can do together every week. Our regular Sunday morning classes continue to meet via Zoom, and we have many interest groups that hold online meetings as well. Watch for the weekly e-blast for information about them, or you can go to our website at uucj.org. Every year at UUCJ, November ushers in the annual opportunities to support the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, the Unitarian Universalist global effort to support human rights. And every year, our own Sid Ryder heads up this fundraising event, traditionally called Guest at Your Table. You can support the UUSC through a $40 annual membership, or you can purchase fair trade chocolates for $10 a bag. Until we meet in person, bags will be delivered directly to your house. You can donate by going to uucj.org and click on giving, and there will be a place for you to enter your UUSC donation. Or you can contact Sid at sidryder@aol.com if you would like to order chocolates. So please watch this video, which provides examples of the important work done by this organization.
Did you know that Unitarian Universalists have been coming together for decades to support human rights through the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee's Guest at Your Table program? During this special program, UUs of all ages learn more about important issues and the groups, or partner organizations, UUSC works together with to advance human rights. Working with community-based groups like UUSC Partners is a great way to get help directly to folks after disasters like a hurricane, and helps make sure the needs that are most important to communities are being met. UUSC works with more than 50 partner organizations around the globe, together responding to humanitarian crises, gender-based violence, persecution of activists, climate change, and more. Guest at Your Table is a chance to get to know our partners and these issues better through learning the stories of 4 people connected to UUSC partners as if we were sharing a meal together. They are the guests in Guest at Your Table. After getting to know the guests, UUs spread the word about human rights and raise much-needed funds for UUSC partners. From supporting youth leadership trainings to amplifying their voices to world leaders, to buying needed supplies after a natural disaster, our partners request our help with all sorts of projects that make a difference in their communities. Through Guest at Your Table, Unitarian Universalists form a mighty web that helps support UUSC partners in their important work. Thank you for helping keep this important tradition going strong and joining us in the Guest at Your Table program.
And this morning we have another announcement, drum roll. I am pleased and delighted to announce that we plan to start in-person services on November 28th with Reverend Leanne in the pulpit. Yay. Put that on your calendar and get the word out. Okay. And so, on to our visitor slide. Some of you who are with us today may just be discovering us and our faith. We want you to know that Unitarian Universalism is a religion of diversity and inclusion. We encourage many different paths in the search for truth. Our congregation is a community of justice and love, and each week we come together in gratitude for this chance to be together. No matter your faith background or your age or your economic status or the color of your skin or who you love, you are welcome here. And now, as we move into our worship service, please take a few deep breaths to move into this sacred space and leave behind the busyness of your day.
Good morning. I'm Leanne Washington, and I'm delighted to be serving as the minister for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jacksonville. Our theme for the month of November is Holding History. Today, we are exploring our relationship to the past and how it influences who we are in the present and where we might go in the future. Reverend Gretchen Haley has written opening words about remembering ourselves, not just in terms of conjuring the past, but also in terms of returning ourselves to ourselves by letting go of pieces of the past, roads not taken, aspirations unfulfilled, and then putting them back together in a process of remembering ourselves into wholeness again. Reverend Haley admonishes us, give up the fight for some other moment, some other life than here and now. Give up the longing for some other world, the wishing for other choices to make, other songs to sing, other bodies, other ages, other countries, other stakes. Purge the past. Forgive the future, for each come too soon. Surrender only to this life, this day, this hour, not because it does not constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty, startles with delight, if only we keep waking up. This is the gift we have been given. These body clothes, this heartbreak, this pulse, this breath, this light, these friends, this hope. Here we remember ourselves, all a part of it all, giving thanks and centering joy. Come, let us worship together. UUCJ member Hope Clayton will now lead us in singing our call to worship.
Let us be grateful for this day, for friends both near and far away. With love we gather here today. Though distant, we have found a way.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of our faith, and this morning Unitarian Universalists in homes all across the country are lighting their chalices. If you have a chalice or candle nearby, would you light it now and hold it up so that all may see your flame? You might want to switch to gallery view so you can see all of the lit chalices and candles. And as we join together to bring light to this day, consider these words from the Reverend Scott Taylor. We light this chalice in honor of the history that holds and heals us, for the stories of heroism that inspire our own, for the faces of loved ones who have passed, in whose images we see our better selves, for reminders of those who paved the path on which we travel and blessed us with advantages we didn't earn all on our own. These memories do not live in the past. They carve the contours of our present. They throw themselves into our futures and lure us into building a life better for all. They are here today. Look, listen, let them in. May their light guide our way. And now Hope Clayton, accompanied by Jeannie Huebner, will lead us in singing our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit. Thank you, Hope and Jeannie. Our wisdom for all ages this morning is another lovely story and song from Lee Morris.
Let me tell you how important our stories are. Once there was a rabbi who, whenever he sensed that his community was in danger, would go into the forest in a very specific spot. He'd light a fire, offer up certain fragrant incense, and pray a specific prayer. Every time, without fail, his prayer was answered and a miracle occurred. When that rabbi passed the mantle on to one of his disciples, that person went into the woods and they lit the roaring fire and they sprinkled in the incense, but they couldn't remember the exact words to the prayer. And they said, God, this is going to have to be enough. And they dwelled in faith And lo and behold, the miracle occurred and the people were saved. In the next generation, another rabbi took on that role and went into that specific spot and said, I don't know how to start a fire, but I'm here and we need the help. And lo and behold, the prayer was heard and the miracle occurred. In the next generation, the rabbi had forgotten the location, didn't know how to light a fire, couldn't remember specifically which incense or the words to that prayer, but she simply went before the God of her understanding with a request. And lo, behold, the miracle occurred. This story illustrates the gifts in holding our history and continuing to show up to the traditions that have supported us and supported our people throughout time, but showing up as we are, as this moment in history. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you need or what you're going through. Don't you hold it all in, 'cause everybody ought to see. Don't let your truth be drowned out. Yours is a voice we need. We need to hear you. We need to know you. Show us your dance, 'cause everyone ought to see. Sing out your song now. Tell us your story. Live in your own way. Be a part of our history. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter where you've been or who has shut you out, 'cause we are gonna let you in. Doesn't matter what you know, you are fruit from our family tree. Shout your truth to the rafters, yours is a voice we need. We need to hear you, we need to know you. Show us your dance, everyone ought to see. Sing out your song now, tell us your story. Live in your own way, be a part of our history. We need to hear you, we need to know you. Show us your dance, everyone ought to see. Sing out your song now, tell us your story. Live in your own way and be a part of our history. In the making, in the making, history's in the making.
We all have moments of joy and sorrow in our lives, and sharing those joys and sorrows is a powerful way for us to maintain connections with one another. What is in your heart that you would like to share this morning? Please write your thoughts in the chat box, and I will read them aloud. Barbara Robinson says, this week we celebrate the birthdays of Reverend Leanne on Wednesday and of Brian Paradise on Friday. Please send them warm greetings. Happy birthday, Reverend Leanne and Brian. We'll wait a minute for people to type. Sending love and hugs to Flory. That would be Flory Auditiori. And Kathleen McKenzie, I think. So glad we'll be meeting in person soon. Me too. And as we go through this week, let us keep these joys and sorrows in our hearts, as well as those that were unspoken this morning. And now I would invite you to take a moment to get comfortable in your space with your feet flat on the floor, your eyes closed or softly focused. Breathe easily and appreciate the silence. And take this moment to appreciate those who have sacrificed so much, some even with their lives, in support of this faith. Or if you choose, think about traditions in your own life that are important to you, or an important person who influenced you to become the person you are today. So much to think about. So let us enter the silence. At UUCJ, fall is the time when we take stock of where we are as a religious community. We review the past year and begin to make plans for the year to come. Our touchstone for both our review and our planning process is our mission statement. By serving compassionately and connecting authentically, we change the world. Guided by our mission, we examine all aspects of congregational life, including our financial stewardship. It is at this time that we request that you let us know what your financial resources will become available to us as we seek to fulfill our mission for this coming year. During this mission funding season, members of our congregation will share with us why they provide their financial support to UUCJ. Today, we welcome Donna Janeski. Please listen to her with a grateful heart. Donna, you need to unmute. Donna?
I just realized that. Why is UUCJ important to me? I would have to answer this question by going back many years to 1968 when I first moved to Florida from Connecticut. I was in my 20s, had one child, and moved here so my husband could take a job working with his brother in the hairdressing business. As a nurse, I easily found employment, but finding friends was another thing altogether. Schools were still segregated, as well as the minds of people we tried to make friends with. I was not used to this way of thinking and found myself very disappointed when a seemingly nice couple would verbalize disparaging remarks. I was determined my son would not be exposed to this kind of racial hatred. I was determined When expressing my dismay, someone told us that we should visit that new church on the expressway. And so we went the very next Sunday. The guest speaker was the poet John Beecher, who delivered an outstanding sermon on civil rights. I bought his book of protest poems and philosophy. I have my original signed copy, Hear the Wind Blow, and that was it for me. On subsequent Sundays, hearing the sermons of Charles McGee was the clincher. We became members and the church became a large part of my life. Yes, I have given much to this church over the years, but I have received much in return. I count a warm and stimulating community of friends developed right here at UUCJ. Women's groups, book clubs, couples groups, spiritual studies, special learning opportunities, leadership learning, and opportunities to connect with fellow Unitarians in Transylvania. My children attended religious education classes throughout their childhood, and I am sure this had an impact on who they are today. My association with this church has surely given me blessings I might not have experienced elsewhere. Olino, Swanee River, canoe trips, Sufi, travel to Bozad, Tree Hill Community Garden, eye care, leadership training, auction fund, labyrinth, the list goes on. So when it comes time to pull out the checkbook and make my annual pledge, I feel it is a privilege to help support the work and community that is the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jacksonville. I doubt my life would have been the same had I not acted upon that suggestion to visit that church on the Arlington Expressway. Please think about what this community means to you and get your pledges in so we can continue to be meaningful to our church community as well as the community at large in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna. And each week we also take up an offering, even during this time of virtual worship. Generosity is a spiritual practice, one that enlarges the heart and lightens the spirit. For no matter how much or how little you have, in the sharing of it, both the one who gives and the one who receives are blessed. And during this month of holding history, our offering, in a very real sense, honors those who came before us to create this church, as well as those who will come after us to continue this beloved community. We invite you to participate in this morning's offering, and you can do so by clicking on the link that Tina has posted in the chat, or by mailing a check to the church office. As we figuratively pass the offering plate this morning, please enjoy We Shine, written and performed by James Underberg.
Every single second there are 4 babies born, bursting into life in the blink of an eye. Each one with a million memories they'll form, times of feeling low and times of feeling high. The first glimpse of a rainbow against the sky of blue, the first time feeling lonely, not knowing what to do. The first wish on a shooting star to make a dream come true. First time feeling broken hearted, the turn to something new. That's me, that's you, that's what we do. We ride the waves, just hope they'll carry us through. We live, we laugh, we love, and we cry. And then one day, every single second there are 2 lives mourned, dropping out of this world in the blink of an eye. Each one with a million memories they'd formed, times of feeling low and times of feeling high. Had glimpses of a rainbow against the sky of blue, had times of feeling lonely, not knowing what to do. They wished upon a shooting star, make a dream come true. They cried out from a broken heart and turned to something new. That's me, that's you, that's what we do. We ride the waves, just hope they'll carry us through. We live, we laugh, we love, and we cry, and then one day we die. Countless different stories about how we came to be. We got different ways of loving, different sounds that we speak, different troubles, different blessings, different ways that we're treated. But one thing we share, everyone, everywhere, is a search for some meaning as we're held in suspense, dreaming and seeking, just trying to make sense. Oh, that's me, that's you, that's what we do. We ride the waves, just hope they'll carry us through. We live, we laugh, we love, and we cry, and then one day we die. And throughout it all, we shine.
My service as your minister began on August 15th. Since then, my primary focus has been on learning the ins and outs of how things are done at UUCJ. I began by meeting individually with your leadership, the board, the staff, and the ministerial formation and transition team, known by the acronym MFTT. Then I began meeting with you in groups of up to 8 congregants, a member of the MFTT, and myself. Through all of these conversations, I gained a deeper understanding of what happened to you 3 years ago when first the office administrator, Jennifer Riley, resigned, and then a few months later, the minister, Philip Baber, and the director of religious education, Tyler Burley, also resigned. Philip Baber and Tyler Burley cited, among other things, a hostile work environment as the reason for their resignations. I heard stories of people making mistakes, people not being forgiven for their mistakes, about people acting in self-interested ways, not consistent with the health and well-being of the congregation as a whole, of people disrespecting staff and congregational leadership, and of people pointing fingers, spreading rumors, and expressing vitriol on Facebook. I heard stories about secret meetings and escalating conflicts on the board. I also heard stories about how congregants attempted to use existing policies and dispute resolution mechanisms, but were thwarted by a lack of sincere participation by some of those involved in the disputes. As a result, many people, especially families with children, resigned their memberships, and a pall of distrust and disenchantment fell upon those who remained. Without question, those were dark days for UUCJ. So here we are 3 years later, wondering whether past is prologue, whether UUCJ, which has had a run of difficult shared ministries over the last decade or two, is somehow predestined to having contentious relationships with its ministers, directors of religious education, and other staff members. In other words, if past is prologue, how well does that bode for UUCJ? As I was deciding on what to call this morning's message, I wavered between past is prologue and past is not prologue. And this morning, I think I should have chosen a third option, past is just prologue, which is closer to the original meaning of the phrase uttered by Antonio, a character in Shakespeare's work, The Tempest. In an attempt to persuade Sebastian to murder his father, the king, and take the crown for himself, Antonio, a blatant and ruthless usurper and ladder climber, says, "Whereof what's past is prologue, what to come in yours and my discharge." In context, it's pretty clear that what Shakespeare meant was for Antonio to convey to Sebastian that whatever had happened previously was merely prologue, only an introduction to the future that they would create together. Like many literary references and movie misquotes, the original statement has been truncated and its meaning turned upside down, so to speak, to mean exactly the opposite of what Shakespeare originally meant. Now, if someone begins a sentence with, "If past is prologue, what comes next is a prediction of the future based on the events of the past." So perhaps now you understand my dilemma in choosing a title for today's message. The English major and linguist in me cringed a bit as I decided to accede to modern usage and declare that past is not prologue. Here's what I mean. We always have choices. Our fate, if you will, is not determined by what has gone before, but rather by how we respond to what has gone before. It's never the fact of conflict that creates a problem. It's a myth that in any human context involving more than one human being, that the norm or even the desired state of being is complete harmony. Why do I say this? Because it's in the expression of our differing needs and our creativity, of our differing solutions to the same problem, that we grow in spirit and in relationship to one another. We are all made uniquely. Yes, we have much more in common than we have distinguishing us one from another, but it's in those differences where we become fully realized. Our community may never settle on one understanding of the events 3 years ago, but in hearing each other out and letting go of the need to blame someone, we can learn well the lessons of the past and avoid repeating them. The key is how we handle conflict now. Healthy conflict gives rise to greater trust among those who have entered conflict, expressed the need and the basis of the conflict, and then resolved it. Over and over, we find that personal relationships and congregational relationships are made stronger through healthy conflict management. Constructive disagreement that respects boundaries and permits everyone involved to express themselves offers the reassurance that we can experience conflict, we can disagree, and we can still be okay with each other, still be accepted, and still be loved. Because love in a religious community like ours is a choice, intentionally made and intentionally sustained through covenant. Healthy conflict also deepens our connections with each other. We all make mistakes. We all have a harebrained idea at some time or another. We can all become determined to get our way, regardless of the consequences to others. When these things happen, being able to express your disagreement or to offer a gentle correction or to state your misgiving gives rise to a greater level of appreciation for and understanding of each other, and greater opportunities for spiritual growth by both parties to the interaction. Learning how to do all these things in a healthy way in a beloved community committed to continued relationship through covenant is one of the significant gifts that being a part of this community offers. Living into our 7 principles and learning from our 6 sources should inspire us to consider how our words and deeds affect others. At this point in time, the important thing is to learn from our mistakes, forgive each other, and vow to put into place healthy boundaries, enriching spiritual experiences, and opportunities to live into our principles and our faith. A mistake is made when any of us believe that our one way is the right way, the only right way. That since we have achieved a kind of mastery in some areas of our lives, what worked for us must work for others. Sometimes the hardest belief to change is the belief that we are always right. Some of us suffer more from this malady than others. What surprises many of us who are right all or most of the time is that there can be more than one answer, more than one right answer, that many different ways to achieve the same purpose exist. There's a story about 5 wise men who got lost in a forest. Each had a different idea about how to find their way out. The first one said, "I will go to the left. My intuition tells me that's the way to go." The second one said, "I will go to the right because the right comes from the word rightness, and one can never go wrong by doing what is right." The third one said, "I will go backward. I will go in the direction we came from. So I know I will get out of the forest eventually." The fourth one said, "I'll go straight. We should move forward. The forest will end and something new will open up before us." The fifth said, "You are all wrong. There's a better solution. Wait for me." He found the tallest tree and climbed into it. While he was climbing, the other 4 wise men scattered and followed their own choices, not waiting for him. From high atop the trees, the 5th wise man saw where they should go to leave the forest faster. He could also see in what order each of the other wise men would eventually reach the end of the forest by following their own paths. He climbed even higher and saw the shortest way. He understood the problem and found the best solution. He knew that his way was the right way after all, and that the others were wrong. He concluded that the others were just stubborn because they wouldn't listen to him. He had proven that he was the real wise man. But he was wrong. All 5 wise men were right. The one who went to the left found himself in a thicket. He had to fight hunger and wild animals. But he learned to survive in the forest, and he became a part of the forest and taught others about the value of the forest and the wildlife that lived within it. He also taught camping and survival skills. The one who went to the right met thieves. They took everything from him and kept him captive, making him complicit in their thievery. But after some time, by his example, he woke up some things in these thieves that they had forgotten, their humanity and their compassion. They turned away from their thieving ways and honored him after his death by also becoming wise men. The one who went backwards made a pathway through the forest, which soon became a road for those who wanted to walk in the forest without being afraid of getting lost.
Is it done? Okay.
The one who went straight became a pioneer. He visited the places where no one else had ever been and opened wonderful new possibilities for people, collecting amazing healing plants and discovering magnificent animals. The one who climbed into the tree, well, he became an efficiency expert. People turned to him when they wanted to find the fastest way to deal with their problems, even if it didn't lead to any further development. So this is how the 5 wise men each solved the problem of being lost in the forest. And this is how they each, through doing so, had a positive impact on others and positively impacted their community. Let's keep this story in mind as together we heal from a history that's been holding us back in favor of embracing creative new ways of being a beloved community. Since I committed to join you as a minister, I've heard everything from UUCJ is a doomed and dying congregation to there isn't any reason that UUCJ can't become a resource congregation. Those who predict doom and gloom for UUCJ haven't had the privilege I just had of hearing stories about your spiritual journeys and how you found your way to UUCJ and how you've been involved in congregational life over the years. They haven't noticed, as I have, how you have become together and adapted to the pandemic in order to keep this community alive and connected. They haven't noticed that we have institutionalists to help us with congregational governance, spiritual practice devotees to help us dig deeper so that we can fly higher, musicians and artists eager to help us express ourselves, and teachers and worship associates ready, willing, and able to guide us in our spiritual development and worship. And they haven't accounted for the crackerjack staff we have working to support and facilitate all areas of congregational life. They haven't heard your love for this community, your hope for its continued growth, and for its positive impact in the lives of its members and in the greater community. They haven't heard how willing you are to participate in congregational life and to contribute what you have to support and sustain this community. They just don't know you as I now do. Through your generosity and sharing your time, talent, and treasure, I'm confident that we will become a resource congregation. If that term is unfamiliar to you, it refers both to larger congregational size and to a congregation's ability to implement best practices and innovative programs that it then shares with other congregations. My ministry training was at just such a congregation. And having gotten to know you better, I know that with a little intentional work and a few years of development, UUCJ will get there. There's nothing other than an attitudinal shift between where UUCJ is now and where it can be as it reaches its full potential. That's my understanding of you, my vision for you, my aspiration for you, and my commitment to you, that I will work collaboratively with you to reinvigorate UUCJ's programs, policies, and procedures with the spirit of life and love and truth. I'll work with you to deepen our connections with each other, to heal the wounds, and to create and sustain a beloved community at UUCJ. As our next hymn reminds us, all are architects of fate. While the past is a resource for lessons learned, it does not limit us, nor does it define us. I invite you to join me in intentionally rebuilding a beloved community at UUCJ. We have the personal and spiritual resources to become a beacon of liberal religious thought and experience in Jacksonville. We have the heart to be a truly welcoming community, and we have the strength of will and spirit to overcome any and all obstacles in our way. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. Please join in singing our closing hymn, number 288, All Are Architects, led by Hope Clayton, vocalist, and Jeannie Hebner, pianist.
All are architects of fate, working in these walls of time, some with massive deeds and great, some with ornaments of rhyme. Build today, then strong and sure, with a firm and ample pace, and ascending and secure, shall tomorrow find its place.
As our service comes to a close, I share with you the words of Reverend Peter Rabel of blessed memory, who reminded us that being a part of a religious community, as we are, we have received many gifts from those who've gone before us, and it is now our work to make the most of those gifts while offering our own gifts to the ones who will come after us. In his reflection titled, "We Build on Foundations We Did Not Lay," he wrote, "We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. We are ever bound in community. May it always be so." This is as it should be. Together, we are more than any one person could be. Together, we can build across the generations. Together, we can renew our hope and faith in the life that is yet to unfold. Together, we can heed the call to ministry of care and justice. We are ever bound in community. May it always be so.
I would invite you now to hold your chalices up to your camera, and we will extinguish them together, reciting these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now please join me in repeating our unison affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity and fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. Blessed be.